But I had to wait a little bit. 3 days.
That is insane. Hello guys, welcome to the podcast Life Abroad Panama, the podcast where we focus on your journey of relocating and building your life in Panama. Facing immigration questions or business legalities, our lawyers are here to help you. We make it easy to get the legal advice you need when you need it. Today we are here with Jordan Poland. Welcome.
Thanks for having me here.
We are so happy of having you. He came here when he was 11 in 2000.
9.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah.
In 2008. And he's going to be telling us his story of how he developed in Panama and now how he's having a health clinic and all of those sorts of things. If you want to tell us your story, you can DM us or you can check our website and submit your story. So let's get into it. Jordan.
I'm excited. Let's hear it.
I want to know, before you tell me all about how you came here to Panama, who are you? Who is Jordan? How old is Jordan? And where are you from? All of those little things.
Yeah. So I'm Jordan. I'm 26 years young. Originally from Australia, based in Brisbane City. That's the capital of our state, which is Queensland. Like you said, in 2008, when I was 9 years old, I moved over to Panama. That within itself is this whole story. I was here for a decade, so 10 years before I moved back to Australia to pursue education, which had to be university, where I went to study clinical exercise physiology with my honors alongside that. Graduated literally 3 days later. I was on a plane back to Panama. And I've been here back for about 11 months today. 11 months, 2 days ago.
Wait, so you went to Australia, studied, and came back, and you're recently back.
Yeah, I mean, had I not been surfing nationals competition, that would have been back the same day as graduation.
What?
But I had to wait a little bit. 3 days.
That is insane. And you said you came when you were 9. Why did you come at that age? That you were an infant.
I was a kid. I'm one of 4. So I have an older brother, older sister, and a younger brother. Older brother at the time was 14. My sister was 12. She had her 13th birthday here. And then my younger brother was 7. So I guess the short story is my dad's best friend is Panamanian. So back in the 80s, when my dad was going through middle school, so that's kind of like that, I think it's grade 4 to like grade 7, 8, his best friend was Panamanian because his friend, who's called Jose's mom was the Panamanian consulate for Australia.
Okay.
But during the 80s to the 90s, Panama had Noriega. So Australia just said to Jose and his family, hey, look, we don't want a Panamanian consulate anymore. So Jose's family relocated to the United States, where he finished his high school and went to university and college and that, and then he ended up moving back down to Panama. Okay. But my dad and him always stayed in great communication, best friends, so they're always nice and tight. But over the years, Jose's telling my dad, yo, come move to Panama. You're going to love it. Move your family.
Of course.
But my mom saying, no, we're not going there. It's like, that's on the other side of the world. We don't know anyone. We don't know the language.
Yeah.
We're not going to do it. But then for my parents' 15th year wedding anniversary, mom says, okay, look.
Let's have an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. They said, look, we'll go for 4 weeks, leave the kids at home. It'll just be us on our anniversary. By the second weekend, mom was sitting on the beach, drinking a hand, toe in the sand. She's like, I could get used to this. 6 months later, sold everything in Australia and moved to Panama, and was here for a decade until I went back for further education.
It sounds like a movie.
Literally.
So you came with all your family. That's such a beautiful story. Your dad had not a childhood, but like a true best friend.
Yeah.
And they met in Australia.
In Brisbane.
So after that, they came back to Australia. Your mom was thinking about it, and she said, okay, let's move to Panama.
Yeah.
What were the steps? What did you do? So, it was not overnight.
No. So it did take us 6 months. So once they got back, it was definite. They were like, we are definitely moving to Panama. There was kind of no questions asked. I mean, you're kids. I was the last one, actually. Out of all my siblings, I said, no, I don't want to go to Panama.
Imagine,
right? I'm the only one of my siblings that still live here, but I was the last one that wanted to come here. And it was all because I played rugby. So rugby is like that Australian version of American football. And this was the first year I could play tackle. Until then, it was touch. So the process looked at us really getting our house ready, doing reconstruction, polishing it up, then putting it on the market and selling. And to go from not looking to sell at all to selling in 6 months was a kind of a pretty rapid process. So for me, I didn't mind. I was a kid. I wasn't going to school. We're moving countries. I was just having fun the whole time, helping out in the house. And then it came when we did move here. And when I moved here, I'm like, oh, this is like a movie. So when do we go back?
Is this real? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You were 9.
Yeah.
So you were fairly young, and you had a clash of cultures and everything.
Huge clash, yeah.
How did you manage after you came here? What happened? What was the things? How did you manage your day-to-day basis? What did your parents do for school and all of those things?
Great questions. I think that's a really important question, especially people trying to move down with families. So we initially moved to Chitre, out of all places, and that was
Imagine.
I know, it was just because my dad's best friend Jose was living in Chitre in the time.
Okay.
And Chitre has a couple schools. They have Soyos, which was the only bilingual school there at the time, and they have this other one called Agustinianos, which I think is bilingual. You have to fact check that one. So we went to Soyos and tried out and tried doing the curriculum.
Okay.
But because at that time I was grade 4, they weren't fully integrated English yet. So they still had half their classes in Spanish, which was lots of the more complex ones being the math, history, geography. It was a few classes that were in English. So that was a bit of a struggling barrier. So my parents said, hey, look, we're going to take you out of school for now. We're going to pay for private tutoring.
What?
But we also went there and started doing homeschooling. So
You were part homeschool.
Part of homeschool. So we had this curriculum that was, I think, registered in the United States. It was ACE, which is... It's some type of Christian homeschooling is what it was.
Okay.
So we're doing that, and we learned Spanish lessons along the way. So then after that, in year 5, when I was 10, we put us back into the school. So the agreement we had with the school was, hey, look, our kids are here to socialize and learn Spanish. During the other hours and sessions, they're going to be doing their homeschooling.
Yeah.
So that's alternative.
They were trying to put you into society.
Into society. So like, here we're going to learn Spanish. You're forced to. You get all your friends speak Spanish. So you're forced to speak Spanish. I mean, for me, it didn't really work out because my 2 best friends, one was American, one was Canadian.
Yeah, of course.
And the other half of them was Panamanian, so they spoke both English and Spanish.
And you say you are Australian, but you don't have an Australian accent.
Yeah, so it's kind of dimmed down my Australian accent because living in Panama, most of the people coming through here, or at least from my town, because now I live in Pedasi, are from America or Canada.
Yeah.
So it's easy if I have more of an American accent and I can say it once, than if I have an Australian, I say it 3 to 5 times.
And something about the Australian accent is the pronunciations of R's, S's, and imagine trying to speak like that in the society you were in. You don't even know how to speak in Spanish. Imagine English, and the Americans and Canadians don't understand you, so you had to adapt.
I had to adapt. I had to adapt, absolutely.
And then after that, you started integrating, but did you find any like harsh point or clash in cultures?
I wouldn't say there was so many clashes in cultures because I guess at such a young age, you're not so integrated into this is your culture. I definitely had the essence of, oh, I'm Australian. I'm here. I was like the only white guy.
Blonde,
blue eyes. Yeah, none of my siblings have blonde hair. I mean, they are white like me, but they've got brown eyes. They've got dark hair. My older brother has black hair with curls.
They mixed a little bit.
I mean, you can definitely look at them and be like, they're not from here.
Yeah, of course.
100%. But yeah, so I was definitely outside. So I kind of got used to those eyes. In Australia, I'm just one of the rest. Here, I'm like, you're the only one here.
The what?
You've got the eyes, man. Like
that's
they're
the gringo over there.
That's the gringo. And back then I'm like, no, yo no soy gringo. Yo soy australiano. Until eventually we got an American friend and we called him gringo. And then I was just Jordan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be part of the, that's the gringo.
That's the gringo there. That's him.
And I hear some Spanish. You said you took Spanish. Some classes in Spanish.
Yeah.
And that was when you were 9. So you had to learn, and you got to learn it pretty easily.
Yeah.
Do you call yourself fully bilingual?
I would definitely say I'm fluent. 100%.
Can you say, please, some things in Spanish so que people heard you?
¿Qué sopa? Mi nombre es Jordan, vengo de Pedasi Los Santos Panama.
Oh, wait.
Sí. Yeah, 100%.
So you don't only speak Spanish, you speak Panamanian Spanish.
Panamanian Spanish.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, my God. I love that. After that, your family moved to Chitre, and they had school there. You had everything there. Everything was good. what was the next step? What did your parents do? You stayed here until what time? Because you
Until
said 10 years, right?
10 years, till 2018.
2018. After 2018, what happened?
After 2018, so there's a bit of time gap from 2010 until 2018. I moved down to Pedasi. And that's where I really learned Spanish, because I didn't learn too much when I was in Chitre, and that was just because I had friends who spoke English.
Oh, of course.
So I didn't have to learn that much. In Pedasi, no one speaks Spanish. English, sorry. So I had to learn Spanish. But yeah, so when it hit 2018, my grandma asked me, said, hey, if I buy you a ticket to Australia, would you go? Because they tried shipping me back when I was 16, and I said, I'm not going. I'm staying in Panama. I'm competing surfing. I've got my friends, so I'm not going to go there when I'm 16 in like the greatest part of my life, nowhere. So when I was 19, they said, hey, if I bought it, would you go? And I said, you know what? I've finished my professional surfing career, so to say.
So you're a professional.
I wouldn't say it now.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so from about 16, I started competing. From 16 to 18.
Over here?
In Panama, 100%, yeah. I was competed all over the country, from Venao, Cambutal, Santa Catalina, Bocas del Toro, Morrillo, and kind of everywhere in between. Did a lot of competing. And then my last year as a junior, which is when you're 18, I ranked 4th nationally, which is kind of the highest I got on that scale, like overall. So I was really stoked with that. And then I did professional swimming, where I did represent Panama a couple of times in La Copa Centroamericana, and just other comps around.
You know, we've had a lot of people on this podcast, but I've never heard somebody who excelled in sports over here.
Wow.
Some people come from school, some other come for retirement, but I've never heard somebody who competed actively until fairly recently. And I'm amazed, you know, I didn't know they had those tournaments over here. And that is something good for people to know, because if there is people that are moving from coast to coast in their countries, they know that it's a possibility here.
It's 100% a possibility here.
And you mentioned a lot of places.
Next month we have the Alas, which is like the biggest surfing competition in Central America. They're going to be hosting it the 30th and 31st of July will be in Playa Venao, but the weekend before that, which is the 21st, 22nd of July, I think, it will be in Bocas del Toro. So they're doing back-to-back. So there's huge international surfing competitions in Panama. People from all over the world come to Panama for surfing within itself. So like Kelly Slater, which we regard as the GOAT, the greatest of all time for surfing. Even he comes to Panama, to Bocas del Toro, more specifically for the surf, for the competitions. Well, not competitions him, but people come from Costa Rica to compete regularly. But there's a huge competitive side for professional sports here. And I think it's probably a great place to do professional sports, because Panama is so small. You get that access to these phenomenal coaches, phenomenal experiences.
And they have the attention on you.
On you, exactly. Going from, if you're from the United States, there's 360 million people that live there. And then I guess you can refine it down to the teenagers or college athletes, or people from, say, 14 to 25 who are in that elite space for sports. You have to be at the very top to get that type of attention. But if you were to come to Panama with that, you can get direct access on the same day and start upgrading straight away.
I love that you're really passionate about this topic. So now you know, if you want to come and surf in Panama, you can contact Jordan over here,
100%.
And he can lock you in with some coaches and some people. So
I'll be more than stoked to.
Tournaments. You call it tournaments?
Tournaments,
competitions.
contests.
Yeah. I didn't know that was a big culture over here. I know there's people that surf here and there, but I didn't know that we even hosted some
Panama has some of the best surfers in the world. So 2013 surfer Oli Camarena, he's from Santa Catalina. He actually got second place in the ISA, which is the World Surfing Games. And that was in Santa Catalina. So he got second place. So Panama has phenomenal surfing. He's still competing. We have other guys like Tao Rodriguez, Luis Carlos Lopez from Cambutal, his brother, Jose Lopez, Kalani Garcia. Like, these guys are at the top. These are like the top five.
You are really invested in this topic. I love it.
Yeah.
And now we know if somebody wants to come over here, there's a lot of places and there's a lot of opportunities. Yes. I want to know, after you got with your surfing competitions and all of that, you were 17.
I finished at 18 and then left Panama like 6 months later when I was 19.
your grandma got you the ticket.
She did. She did get me the ticket. She bought me a return ticket, but I didn't take the return, obviously.
But what was the plan? You went where? You did what?
So the plan was, it was kind of like, hey, Jordan, you've kind of finished everything you've really dedicated yourself to for the last, I guess in that moment, 10 years. Would you want to go? So I said yes, and I went to Australia. And within the first week, I was with my older brother who was going through mechanical engineering at the time at university. And he said, would you be interested in going to university? I said, look, I'm a grade 7 dropout. I dropped out in grade 7. Yeah, so I went to the Panamanian schooling, but I had, like I said, I had my homeschool. But you're asking a 14-year-old, say you're a mom, right? You have a 14-year-old kid. You say, hey, did you finish your school today? What do you think you're going to say?
Yeah,
of course, claro que sí. So I always had that in the back of my head. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I can go to university. And he's like, look, you do this program, which over there they call it TAFE, but essentially it's like community college. It takes 4 months. I did that. I aced that. Like I went to that 2 weeks after arriving in Australia. So as soon as I got there, it was like, all right, I'm not going back to Panama. I'm going to pursue this journey. And a part of me knew I was going to stay in Panama for a lot longer. I mean, in Australia, sorry. I knew I was going to be there. So there was a bit of grief when I was leaving Panama. Like I wasn't sure when I'd see my friends again. But I'm like, this is the next step I have to take to get to where I want to be. So I did the TAFE. I did amazing on the schooling. Then I did an SAT exam, which again, I did really well. And then I applied for university. So I only applied to 2 universities. I was dedicated to going to the University of Queensland. They're number 1 in Australia for this degree that I chose, which was clinical exercise physiology with honours. So I put that the whole way down. And then at the very bottom, I put clinical exercise physiology at another university, just in case I didn't get, because I would have preferred going to, if I didn't get the degree I wanted at UQ, the University of Queensland, then let's choose a degree related that I can just transfer in the next year. But as it happened to be, I got accepted first round, early offer. To this day, probably one of the happiest moments in my life. Like tears to my eyes, 100%. Because till that moment, because I dropped out of high school, I had that idea that, hey, you're not that smart, Jordan. You lack the education. You're kind of a dumb person. So it was kind of insecurity. That was the only insecurity I had. So as soon as I got accepted, it's like, no, you're not. And it just blew away this incorrect belief that I had. And from that moment on, went to university, which took me about 6 years, but phenomenal opportunity. If anyone has the chance to go to Australia, specifically even that university, 100%, definitely go.
And you went through that career. And what made you come back to Panama?
So I came back originally, it was supposed to be a 5-week graduation present. Yeah, right? It's supposed to be 5 weeks, just surf, have a good time with my friends, and then go back to Australia because I'd lined up, like when I tell you the dream job, I'm talking the dream job. This is like a skyscraper of like 15 floors. It has every single longevity appliance that you want. You want to check how dense your bones are. We have that. Your body fat, how your muscles are activating. You want a chamber that's got more oxygen than the normal place. You want a cold chamber. Everything you want is there with medical directors, doctors, the whole shebang. And the pay was incredible. It was going to be $150,000 for 20 to 30 hours a week. So part-time. After 3 months, I could decide if I wanted to go full-time, which would be about $200,000 a year, which even for Australia standards is insane. Especially
and that was over there.
That was over there for new graduates. So I was like, I'm only here for 5 weeks. I'm going back to my dream job.
I'm going back.
Yeah. But when I got here, it was kind of turns of the table. So my dad, he's always lived with a condition called chronic fatigue. So if you say he did a workout today, then tomorrow he would feel like a truck had gone over him, like he's super fatigued, muscles sore, and it doesn't just last a day, it might last a couple of weeks. So things are very strenuous on him. And when I got back, I mean, that was one of the reasons we moved to Panama itself, because Panama just improves quality of life and health to a next level.
It's more chilled, relaxed.
Because when he came, I think he was 36, if I'm not mistaken, and the doctor told him, like, hey, you have 10 years to live. So imagine being 36 and saying you got 10 years, dying at 46. So it was crazy. So when he did come back to Australia, the doctor's like, I don't know what you did in Panama, but if you keep doing that, you'll live forever. You'll live like your normal life, like 80 years. So that was a big reason why we moved here. But coming back to when I came back for those 5-week holiday or vacation, my dad was going through a major chronic fatigue episode. So for reference, my dad's 6'7". He's 200 centimeters tall, 2 meters. He's really tall. I got stuck in the middle. My mom's 5'3", so I got like 6 foot. It's all right. I'll take it. But so I weigh about 83 kilos, 84 kilos. When I got here, my dad was weighing 73 kilos.
Very skinny.
Very skinny.
Yeah.
So he was going through this severe chronic fatigue episode. And I said, look, you could give me $1 million a year, but that's not going to help me bring him.
I'm not going to go back. Yeah.
Exactly. So I spoke with the place and they were more than happy to say, look, if or when you come back to Australia, you're interested in this, let us know. Because they didn't have the position open. They just saw me on LinkedIn. They reached out, we spoke, and they said, look, we're not hiring, but we want you to be here.
Oh my God.
So the opportunity's still there.
You, yeah.
It was for me. And that was kind of like a rock and a hard place. But I looked at it more black and white. I'm like, why do I want this money? I'm like, I want this money so I can travel and see friends and family. Yeah. And what's having all this money if I can't just go and see my dad because now he's passed away. So I've decided to stay and been doing a lot of work with him, and thank the Lord that now he's doing much better. He's a lot more healthy. He's put on a few more kilos.
He just missed you. That was
that's what I think.
It was you.
Yeah. I noticed it because I did go for a job in the city after that. I was here for about 3 months, and I'd go back every 2 to 3 weeks to Pedasi where he lives. But I could then see again, it was like regressing his condition. So it's getting a bit worse. I'm like, oh, so he needs someone there. So I'm like, okay, so I was there, but he's doing much better now. So that was a big reason as to why I stayed. But also just the connections you get in Panama. You meet so many people here all the time. Like 3 or 4 months ago, I was sitting down with the CEO of Forbes magazine, publishing.
Really?
We were just having dinner. And
where is he?
Oh, he's in Charleston at the moment. He's in the US. But great guy. His wife was phenomenal as well. They invited me to stay. If I'm ever in the States to go by their place, I'd love to have me there. So just the amount of people you can meet in Panama itself is phenomenal. And there's so many other things that just come with living in Panama.
It's a mixing pot of
huge
people
huge mixing
and
pot.
Cultures and everything. People just love that. That's why they come here. I love also that you mentioned that your dad, by some doctor, told him he had 10 years to live and he was going to die. Yeah. And he came here and suddenly he was relieved. He was better. And that is something that also people love. They come here to retire or just to start their adult life, and they realize that it's a place more calmer and you can relax more. It's not the hustle culture that you need to be doing so much and breaking your back over some coins. It's like, okay, I'm gonna work, but I'm gonna have weekends off and I'm gonna go to the beach and I can, go to the river or to the mountain or to the hotel on the beach or,
And you can do that all in one day. Like you can be in the Caribbean in the morning looking at or you can be here watching the sunrise, in the Caribbean for the sunset, and go to the hell in the mountains and the waterfalls, everything in between on the same day.
You say at 10 a.m. like, oh, the day is pretty to go to the beach.
Yeah.
1 hour and a half and you're there.
Yeah. Literally, you're right there. So Panama has so much opportunity for outdoor events. But then if you're here in the city, there's so much to do anyways. Yeah. Like they're not restricted by events or activities. Like anything you want to do, Panama City has it.
Of course.
Definitely has it.
So you came back from Australia. You stayed with your dad. You tried to get him better. And what did you do then? You already had your college education.
Yeah.
And what was the next step for you? You said, okay, what am I going to do now?
Yeah, so I was thinking, I've always enjoyed business, being an entrepreneur. I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but the idea of getting something from nothing, which is literally just an idea in your head, to starting to practice it and then saying, hey, look, people actually like this, and progressing through has always been something I've enjoyed. At the beginning, it started when I was like 7 years old selling candy at school for like $2 a piece.
A hustler,
right? So yeah, we did that, and then I'm like, you know what? I've always kind of wanted to open up a clinic, a longevity clinic. So now I've put that in process. I've started it, which I've called Pollard Physiology. Last name, physiology, kind of put them together. No too much science, easy. If it changes in the future, there's no problem with that. I'm like, just have to get it rolling, because you're not really a business person or entrepreneur until you actually start. You can have all these ideas in your head, but until you actually start going through it, it's just ideas. It's just in the air. So I've started that as of recently. So I knew I need to get more credibility behind me. I know I had the education, which is credibility within its own right, but people have to be able to see what it is you're doing.
Yes.
So I started just a personal blog that I put on the internet, and once a week I'll just be releasing a blog.
Tell us about it. If you want to say a quick shout out to the clinic and to the pages, you can. Feel free.
So if you're interested in longevity or movement exercise, or really just looking at trying to optimize your performance, you can follow the Instagram, Facebook page. It's called Pollard Physiology. You can find myself, Jordan Pollard. Same like that on Instagram. The website is jordandeanpollard.wixsite.com/blog. But just go to Facebook, you'll find it much easier there. But the blog, so every blog post that comes out is related to longevity. Mm-hmm. So how do we relate bone density to longevity? But they all incorporate exercise.
Okay.
Because the whole degree is around exercise, which is movement. Because everyone wants to live as long as possible. But what's the point of living to 100 if the last 15 to 10 years of my life is spent in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Are miserable. You're in the bed. You can't do the things you want to do. And that comes down to actions. What actions or things do I want to be doing in that what we call a marginal decade, that last 10 years of your life? And that's where that movement comes in. So how do we increase bone density with exercise, and how does that impact longevity? Or a very interesting thing that most people may or may not know is that the number one predictor for how long you'll live for is actually the total quantity of quality being the important factor, quality friendships you have. Yeah, that's the number one predictor. So I'm
gonna live forever.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, that's Panama, right? Everyone here is so welcoming, and you make such great quality friendships all the time.
It's a pretty warm country.
I mean, one of the oldest people in the world lives in Panama. I read this a couple of years ago. I hope she's still here. She was 122 years old. Mm-hmm. I think she either lives here in the city or is Colon, and she contributed her long life to patagones, to plantains.
Of course.
Yeah, she's like, plantains, patagones, así como vivo para siempre. And she was like, vitality. Amen, right? I'm like, I can't disagree. Plantains are amazing.
And there's people that have never tried plantains.
I know.
Come to Panama. I encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
I love that your experience in Panama has been like so good so far. Mm-hmm. And I want to know, as a businessman, how was it to start your business in Panama? Because you studied in Panama, mm-hmm. you came for surf competitions, but it's different when it's another route you're taking, you know? Mm-hmm. How was it? Did you have some problems?
So far, I haven't had any problems. I kind of lucked out. So my mom has always kind of had like a little bit of a business. So in Pedasi, we had a little cafe called Café Mama Llenas.
You had?
Yeah.
Or you have it?
We had. We closed it. But you've tried Mama Llenas, right?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Phenomenal. I love them. That's what I used to, when I was in Chitre. I did swimming there because I was doing swimming before I came to Panama. So that was the sport we chose originally. Mm-hmm. And right in front of the swimming pool was this little panaderia. In that panaderia, they sold Mama Llenas, 10 cents. You'd be pressed to get on for 10 cents today. But they were 10 cents, and we loved them. So Mom's like, all right, let's get a recipe, and we start perfecting it. So we had your classic Mama Llenas con aceitunas, my bad, pasitas. Uh-huh. You had raisins, and then we ended up making chocolate ones, white chocolate, mocha, coffee, caramel. We ended up doing a display of them.
What happened? Why did
I know. It was just a bit tough because Pedasi at the time wasn't very touristy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't enough people to keep it going. But we did have it for like 6 years, and we had it in
for a long time.
Some of the most impactful years for Pedasi and Vinal, the Pedasi district. That's when we had the ISA World Surf Games in 2011, where Australia actually won the world title that year. So I was very proud to be Australian then.
But you were competing for Panama.
No, I wasn't competing. I was only 12 at the time. I was just watching, a spectator. And then the next year we had the ISA Juniors, so the World Juniors came to Panama again in Playa Vinal. And like during all these times, the best competitors in the entire world, people who were on the championship tour, which is the highest level of surfing, they were actually coming to Panama at the time. So I was able to meet all these people.
There was a lot of movement on the business.
Yeah, a lot of movement on the business. So having seen Mum go through those obstacles of starting a business, what it took to start the business, how to keep it going.
You wrote everything down.
I kind of wrote everything down, right? And then I've always got Mom to go back to. I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm doing this.
How did you do this?
How do you do this? And she's more than happy to help me out. I very much lucked out with the parents I got. It wasn't, you have to go to university. You have to do this.
What a blessing.
Right? I mean, I don't know any different, so I can't tell people that, my way's better than yours.
Yeah.
And I'd never say that. But do you want to tell you the best part about getting older, or aging, I should say, is that now we have that opportunity to ask our parents. It's like, oh, how did you deal with me in this situation?
Yeah,
so mine was, how did you deal with people looking from the outside saying, your son hasn't finished school, he just goes around surfing, he isn't doing this. I'm like, how did you have the confidence to just kind of ignore what they're saying? And today, this is probably one of the best things I've ever heard. She just said, I never doubted your success.
And the good thing is that she came to a country that gave you that opportunity. You had homeschool, which is something that is still used today. There's a lot of people that come from other countries and they say, how am I gonna get my children into school? And you can do homeschool in Panama. And it's very easy for you to travel if you need to travel. And there's a lot of opportunities. It's not just like one box.
100%.
And you had the time to do business. You had the time to surf if you needed. So it's a really good country to explore your possibilities.
100%.
Now that you have your own business, what is your next step?
The next step is really getting more clients, becoming more aware, because I'm working with a client at the moment, and they're suffering from quite a bit of pain. Yeah. So pain, a lot of it is psychological. By the way, pain is real. Pain is 100% real. We all feel pain. But an idea I like to come back to is, have you ever had surgery before?
No.
Lucky. I have.
Well, I have.
You have?
My wisdom teeth.
Will you asleep under it?
No.
No, you're awake?
It was really painful.
Yeah. So
horribly.
When you're awake conscious, it's painful and traumatic.
Yeah.
But there's also other people who have been sedated and gone under. So like I broke my clavicle. I've got this very gnarly scar along here.
Ooh,
it's not prominent anymore. But
you need to say you got attacked by a shark.
In Australia, I tell people it's a machete fight.
Yeah.
But it was basketball. It was basketball. But while you're under it, you don't feel the pain.
Yeah.
So there is that psychological factor to it. But getting back to them, it's saying like, hey, look, if we just work consistently twice a week for a minimum of 6 weeks, ideally we get to that 8 to 12 area, which is roughly 2 to 3 months, you will feel so much better. So bringing that awareness is probably like the next step to getting people more aware, like, hey, I need to be moving more consistently. Like the number one treatment to mental health disorders, especially depression, is exercise.
Yes.
Because, I mean, lots of people will go on antidepressants with some medication, which they definitely have their place for. But often we don't, it's a guessing game when we're prescribing these medications, when doctors are prescribing these medications. So it might take 6 months to know whether this medication worked for this specific person. And they're like, oh, this one didn't work, so now let's try another one.
Yeah. So it's a lot of time.
So something we can do alongside that is like, all right, you're taking your antidepressant, which you've been prescribed. Let's integrate some exercise alongside it.
You're making me want to go for a run right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. 100%.
I love that your journey has been really good in Panama. If you had the chance to do something differently, what would you do?
This is not a thing I spend too much time on, because I always like, I can't go back in time.
Yeah,
but I will think about it. If I could, that's the wrong answer. I was gonna say miss more school.
What?
Well, like if for my case personally, I went to Australia and I got the education I needed to go to university, so school didn't end up being an important part for me. But I do think school is very important. Like I've always said, I can't make my kids go to high school, but their mother probably can.
Of course.
But if one thing I could do differently is...
You can say nothing.
I mean, Panama's a pretty good place. I mean, maybe when I was younger, maybe travel around a little more. So when I got older, between that 16 to 18, I traveled around Panama a lot for surf competitions. But I can see from my siblings' perspective, they didn't do that traveling. And that itself can show how I'm here and all of them are in Australia. So my younger brother, he's married to a Panamanian. He has 2 kids, but they're in Australia.
Okay.
My sister, she had her partner at the time, and they had a child. So her child's Panamanian. And my older brother, I mean, he was only here for like 4 or 5 years before he went back. But between all of them, the one who's done the most travel is me. Yeah. It's also, I'm the one here. So I guess for other people's perspective, traveling more. So even though I've been back for 11 months, I've done maybe more traveling in the last 11 months than I had done in the last maybe 10 years I was here. So I think traveling is such a huge part.
Yeah.
If I could change it, I think traveling more.
And
100%.
if you can give, this is the last question.
No,
'cause
go
we have
for
come
it.
to the end. The interview has been amazing. I want to know if you had something to say for the people who want to come to Panama, an advice or something you want to warn them about. What would it be?
I would warn you people that people here are very friendly. So like you're gonna have a great time. Everyone's super happy. You're gonna be greeted all the time. I think the adjustment period. So just kind of people get here, especially from the States. They're like you said, very fast paced. Like there's something happening all the time. The hustle culture. You gotta dial that down. The first 2 weeks might be a bit stressful for people. They might say, "Hey, why isn't stuff moving?" Because we're a laid-back culture here. We like to enjoy our process. We like to enjoy where we are. So things take a little bit slower. So that's probably a little bit of advice is just expect stuff to take a little bit slower. That be your way to coming to your table to give you the menu or coming back to get your order. Or that might be a little bit of paperwork on getting a car or something started. Just have the expectation that things might take a little bit slower than you usually used to. And then travel. See Panama. Panama has some of the most unbelievable things in the world.
Of course.
Like humpback whales. We love whales. All the whales.
The whale season is coming soon.
They are. Humpback.
Oh my
but
God.
the thing about Panama is we have whales year round. 12 months of the year we have whales. Because all the whales, all the humpback whales in Panama come here to give birth.
Yes.
So they leave out for a year, come back, have the babies. And then the babies will be here with the mom for a year.
Come for whale season.
Come for whale season,
It's
100%.
until September.
Come to Pedasi. We've got amazing tours around there for whales, and we've got Isla Iguana, so many features. Travel around, check it out, and immerse yourself in the culture.
It has been an amazing interview.
Yeah.
We have had such a great time. I loved your story, and I hope that people love it too.
I hope so.
Yeah, it has its ups and downs, and coming from down under, it's amazing what have you become and what can we see now. And I hope you get a lot of more clients in your clinic. You already know his socials. This has been an amazing interview once again.
Yeah, no, thank you. I really appreciate coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you want to tell your story, you can write us a DM and check our website. Also, if you want to check our socials, they are going to be all linked down below. I hope you really like this interview, and I hope to see you on the next episode. Bye.